Hey guys, welcome to the Grokit Guitar channel. I'm Shai. I'm here to help you grow a little bit for free on guitar. Um, Please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so I can keep pushing content for you. And as usual, I super appreciate comments. It sort of tells me if I'm in the right direction, if I'm helping you at all. So let's get into secondary dominance and check this out. Here's a little song using the 7 chords of the C major scale. I'm gonna make it up as I go along, so this might suck. Okay, so I felt naturally kind of limited by my 7 chord constraint, meaning the C major scale only has these 7 chords, which can feel a bit limiting, right? So here's a very cool remedy. So to begin this lesson about secondary dominance, let me set it up a little bit. Now let's imagine a little village, okay? What is this village? Let's say it's a nice little settlement like next to a mountain. And imagine that around this mountain there are like houses in different places. In the valley, which is at let's say a height of 0, there are settlements on about 500 meters like this. And way up top of the mountain, there are also settlements, which we'll call the dominants. So what I'm basically pointing to is that imagine that you always want to go back to 0, like jumping off a pool. So an altitude of 0 would be this chord, which we call tonic, this chord, which we call subtonic, and this chord, which again subtonic, meaning it's all basically chords that when we play them, we feel we've arrived, we've landed. And imagine the very top of the mountain, we have our dominants. G, we're feeling high, you know, like when we go up the mountain, really want to fall down again. And the 7th degree B half diminished, which are our dominant points, like a dominant and another dominant chord. And imagine that somewhere between being at that 0 height, we have some kind of subdominant level. It's like, think of it as a stop on the mountain on the way up. That will be D minor 7 and F major 7. Okay, so let me remind you of the altitudes. 0 altitude, tonic. Subdominant, halfway up the mountain. E minor, again, tonic, back on the ground. F major 7, subdominant. G7, way up high the mountain, dominant. A minor 7, way back in the 0, the tonic function, and dominant. So basically, I'll do it in a different grouping. Tonics, subdominants, dominants. Would be a very fair question to ask why I divided them into these categories. The answer is simple. The C major scale has these 2 notes that tell you I'm not happy. Right? We can really feel when the chord has tension, not happy, happy, resolved. So generally the chords that feature the F and the B, the tones that create that tritone, are the unhappy chords that we have. Okay, so that's why chords that have just the F are often subdominant. Chords that have both the F and the B are like dominant, and chords that don't are the tonic chords. Okay, so basically returning to our village, here are our 3 villages on the ground: C major 7, E minor 7, A minor 7. Midway the mountain are D minor 7 and F major 7, and way up top are G7 and B half diminished. So far, so good. So a thing that happens in harmony is that the C major 7 chord is a very happy customer because it has a G7 that's like top of the mountain, and there's a perfect amount of tension that resolves to it. So now I'm going to switch the metaphors up from, we moved from a village. Now imagine it's like a swimming pool. So C is the pool and G7 is like the place where you jump from, and it's like the highest point. And in the middle you can climb up that to make that jump with the D minor 7. So C is very happy because it can tell these stories of I'm on my tonic point, and then I'm somewhere in the middle, climbing up, creating tension. I'm jumping from the top of the pool, and from that springboard way back down, and I'm back at my tonic. And you can really tell effective stories that just go from tonic, subdominant, dominant, back to tonic. And these stories are... Okay, so these stories are very typical. They work well because they have a balance of a journey. You start on your zero ground level, you raise tension, and drop it. If you really want to think about it, even stories work like that. Little Red Riding Hood. Stories naturally start with low tension. The tension escalates and then it drops. I'm watching Stranger Things, and I think in a very complicated way, I hope we'll land back at the tonic. So what I'm saying is that's a very natural thing we've come to expect from harmony. So what do secondary dominants do in this story? And this is kind of a cool thing. Basically, imagine that each one of these chords would really want to have its own little swimming pool with its own springboard. Like you could land into the diatonic chords. Let me play them for you. And what I'd like you to notice is I'm going to add to each chord a whole 2-5-1 or dominant chord that leads to it. Okay, let me explain to you what I did and how you can do it too. Basically, we know that when you put a dominant, let's be guitarists and just go a fourth down from where we are. If you want to hit that C chord from a dominant, you go down 2.5 steps, the G7, and it leads. So if you have a D minor and you want to set it up, just take your root, go down 2.5 steps, that'll be A, make it a dominant. And now the D minor is a little happier because it has its own springboard, its own special dominant leading to it. So it suddenly feels more important because now it has its own dominant. The E minor, again, I'll just go down 2.5 steps and that'll give me a B. And the F major 7 can have the C7 leading to it. And the G7 can have the D7 leading to it, and the A minor can have the E7 leading to it. Okay? So now let me give you a brain-busting academic definition of a secondary dominant. Don't freak out. It's just 2 sentences. You don't need to remember them. You only need to write a lot of songs with this. Formal definition. A secondary dominant is a non-diatonic chord. Ouch. A chord that does not exist in the scale, meaning it must have notes that don't belong to the scale, non-diatonic. That its root note has to be diatonic, meaning the root of that chord has to be the notes of the scale, in this case C major, and that resolves to a diatonic chord. So basically, here they are. Let me introduce them. We call this 5 of 2, or the dominant into the 2, A7. The dominant that leads into E minor, B7, we call this 5 of 3. The dominant that leads into F major 7, 5 of 4. The dominant that leads into the G7, 5 of 5, and the dominant that leads into A minor 7, E7. Okay, and that's how that works. And for that, this purpose, for example, G7 is not a secondary dominant because it already exists in the scale. So all its notes belong to C major scale, so it's disqualified from the category. Okay, so how can you use this to make super cool music? Here's what I would actually do. So I've introduced in a general a 5 of 2, a 5 of 3, a 5 of 4, a 5 of 5, and a 5 of 6. Each of them is an expansion of your harmonic vocabulary. So I'll try to make up songs using each one of these. So the first one is A7, right? So here I go, trying to add A7 into my little song. I know it has to jump into the D minor, so I'll go. Yay, mission accomplished, because that silly melody really took care of the A7. Here's a tougher one. I'll try to use B7 melodically in my improv in C major. Okay, I think mission accomplished. We've heard the B7 secondary dominant resolved to the E minor. Next, we have 5 of 4. 4 in C major is F major 7. A dominant resolving to it, C7. I think the Beatles did it way better than me. Did you catch that? That's a C7 going to F. But I'm going to try my clunky attempt. I think I was under heavy influence right there, but still works. And a secondary dominant that resolves to G7 is D7. Now that's a weird one because if you're thinking about the swimming pool metaphor, if you're jumping from D7 to feel a resolution, so I'm jumping from the D7, I'm landing on G7, it's kind of weird because when you jump off a springboard towards a pool, I don't think you're really expecting to land on another springboard. That sounds fun, but not really natural. So it's a bit weird because you don't resolve to a point of resolution, you resolve to another dominant. So it just changes to dominance. Okay, so it's a bit of a weird effect, but here I am working out the D7. That's a Latin thing. Okay, so no problem working that in. And the E7 is kind of easy. Right, so many songs have been written with this. Okay, so that's a very easy one to do. And the bottom line is each of these chords is like a new place to go to that has where it needs to be going. That really helps me. And then I would finally try to make up little songs, and I will end this with a little trick in the end. So here is me trying to use all of these guys together. Okay, so that's me basically trying to incorporate all these lovely guys in a single improv thing. Now, as promised, just a little trick for the end. Okay, this is for advanced people. You don't have to worry about it if you're not there yet. It just takes time to learn any of this shit. So, imagine I'm playing right now the tonic chords. It's called drop 3 in this way, meaning I'm playing C major 7 with the numbers 1, 7, 3, 5. And I'll play D minor 7 again, same kind of numbering. F major 7, G7. Okay, nothing shocking here. So these are my diatonic chords with the C major scale. But the little trick is I'll play all my secondary dominants in first inversion. What is first inversion? Meaning I'll have the 3 as the roots and they'll all be dominant. So for example, my G7 will be with the 3 on the bottom. So it's 3, which is B, the 1, which is G, the 5, which is D, and the 7, which is F, like this. Love this inversion. Okay, very feels very immediate to me. So the little trick goes as follows. What I'm doing is I'll play the tonic chords in root position, and then I'll add secondary dominants in first inversion, like this. Let me tell you what just happened here. C, A7, first inversion, D minor, B7, first inversion, E minor. Love this one. C7, first inversion, F, D7, first inversion, G, E7, first inversion, A minor, a root position, and B half diminished because it has no secondary dominant. Now, what's cool about that? Check out the bass. Wow, haven't played that high all my life maybe. Have you noticed chromaticism? Okay, so that's a little fun thing to do because sometimes when you get very cool motion in the bass, it's kind of exciting and there's a lot of things to do with it. Bottom line, first of all, get used to these satellite chords that live around the 7 diatonic chords of the C major scale. You can always find songs that use them. I recommend something by the Beatles because they use almost all of them in a single song in a masterful, beautiful way. And just enjoy them like simply acoustic guitar, simple songwriting stuff, and then you can go into like more complex improv. I sincerely hope you've enjoyed this. I hope this helps. I hope to hear from you. So like, subscribe, hit the bell, and thanks for listening, guys. There'll be a lot more great shit on this channel. Thank you, and bye-bye.